What's up, everybody? Happy Hump Day. Thanks for checking in to Scott Fox After 9. Brand new episode coming your way. I say give me like maybe 45 minutes, up to an hour, and I will give you the world. Today on the pod, I'm going to be talking about yesterday's Auditor General's report. Holy cow, we pissed away a lot of money. Anna, we pissed away a ton of money yesterday.
Not surprised.
I'm not either, actually.
To be honest, it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
You know, I figured when this Auditor General report came out, we'd all be angry, and then I heard it, and I thought, that's about what I expected.
Exactly.
You know, it's bad that we have such low expectations of our elected officials.
It's true. If they had done well, I'd been like, there's the surprise. I would have been like, oh, okay. Yeah, wow, you really got me. No, this I expected.
We're also going to get to some of the drama happening in America between the governor of California and the president, Donald Trump, the riots in LA, and now the riots in New York. First off, are you watching this? Because at first I thought, oh, here we go. LA riots again. I've got something to watch at night.
It's I started watching it, but it's really escalated, and it's been hard to watch some of these things. I mean, more so all the abuse that I've been seeing. You know, people vandalizing. It's almost taking over the original message of protest that they were trying to send out.
Do you think that if that were happening here, and it's very likely it will, because this is an organized effort.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, there are some people out there that are truly protesting because they feel strongly that these people should not be deported. Thank you. There's others out there, though, that are being paid by very, very wealthy individuals, the globalists who believe in a world with no borders and things like that. They want them to be able to stay. They're also trying to sow distrust in the American government. They're trying to create anger. So what they do is they supply the gas masks and everything these people need. Then they pay them to go in there and get the crowd all agitated and get it fired up. And it started in LA.
Yeah.
Now it's moved to New York. Soon it's going to happen in Toronto. There's just no way to avoid it. It's going to come here when we start talking about immigration and deporting people. When it comes here, do you think we're going to stand up to the protesters, or are we just going to let them run roughshod?
Oh, it's a tough call. We do have a lot of embassies in Toronto. And I don't think I think it will be a much more peaceful protest compared to the U.S. I'm hoping, but I wouldn't be surprised if one person gets everybody riled up. I mean, we freak out over a hockey game loss, so I could see us really taking off if people feel strongly. We do have a lot of immigration, a lot of immigrants, so this is interesting.
Where do you think people are at in Canada? I'm going to save this topic for later on in the pod, but while you're here, I just want to ask your take on it. Do you think, generally speaking, people in Canada have had enough and they want the immigration numbers regulated to a manageable level? Or do you think they're in favor of just let everybody come, and if people are here illegally, let them stay?
I don't think they're there on that. I think we have, I feel many people feel we're overrun, and there's just not a lot of supply for all the demand. There's not enough jobs, housing. We can't afford this. We can't afford that. And to keep welcoming people when we have a crisis on our hands, like, I mean, how are they going to get by? And illegally, like I'm sure there's probably people supply other people, work them under the table. This is not something new. However, it's just seeing the images of people getting pulled away from their family. But you have to know that is something that could happen if you decided to come illegally and work under the table. They find you. I don't know how, but they do eventually.
I got asked a great question the other day. How are these people doing it in America? How is it that they snuck into America and they managed to get a job and a house and all that sort of stuff? And I think that's a fabulous question, because I don't know how they're doing it. My son just went through the process. He had to get an offer of employment. Mm-hmm. He had to go to the border, apply for a work visa.
Yeah.
And once he had the work visa, he was able to get a social security number. Once you've got a social security number, a lot of doors are unlocked. You can open up a bank account, you can get a mortgage, you can get a credit card, all those sort of things. I have to assume that somehow they're getting a social security number, and that's what's doing it. But generally speaking, I can't just go over the border and go and apply for a job. It doesn't work that way.
No, it's
How
great
are
that
these
your
people
son
that
got
snuck
it.
into the country doing it?
Well, and that's it. Especially now with AI, things are looking more and more real, and things are getting more easy to get access to. Back in the day, you could create a profile and it wasn't so much computers. You could live under the radar for a really long time. Now there's data showing everything and social media. So I feel like people are living under an alias name from who they actually are, being able to start over. honestly.
An alias. That's possible.
Honestly, yeah. And you know people who work other people under the table. It's like a hush-hush thing. You're making income and you paid taxes, but under a different name. I mean, honestly, there are ways to work around the system.
Do you think there's a lot of people that are working under the table?
Yeah.
Like even here in Canada, we know that there's no jobs, none. And the people who have got these jobs, I have to assume that they're not all legitimate. We've lost track of 500,000 people that were supposed to have left, and they're still here. Are they getting government subsidies or are they working? And if they're working, how are they getting paid?
I think some come on a vacation visa or whatever, and then they stay longer than they're supposed to, and all of a sudden they're here and they continue on. I've seen it happen. I know Americans who've come because their partners have gotten jobs in the industries here in Canada. They aren't eligible to work, yet they're working under their table and they're making money.
I think an employer who's allowing someone illegal to work under the table should be shut down and fined heavily. Mm-hmm. And if it means we lose some businesses, so be it. We don't want those kind of businesses, the ones that don't play by the rules, the ones that are taking jobs from Canadians and giving them under the table, probably not even at minimum wage, to these people who aren't even supposed to be here.
And sometimes I wonder, all of a sudden a shop opens, they're around for a little bit, they close down, and then in the same spot, they're opening something else. There's, you know what I mean? Similar owners. It's just really interesting how things work. But it is very much a hush-hush. And this isn't new. This has been happening for so long. It's mostly now talked about because of what's going on in the U.S.
Okay. I was going to save this until the solo Scott part in part 2 of today's pod, but I'm going to do this one clip right now. Yesterday, another great series of questions from Conservative MP Michelle Rempel-Garner. She was talking to the new immigration minister. Now, if you heard the edition the other day, this new immigration minister doesn't seem to know anything about immigration. She seems to have no clue who's here, how many people are coming, where people are going. She doesn't know. And she's had more than enough time to get briefed on those very basic facts about her file.
Basic.
Listen to this exchange yesterday in the House of Commons.
There's a lot to unpack here. There are 500,000 people as of December that should have been removed from Canada. How many were removed?
The Honourable Minister.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You need to contextualize the numbers when we present them in this House. There's facts.
You still have time, Minister. You have a few seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that. CBSA and Public Safety Minister, he was here, I believe, Thursday, and he's in charge of answering those questions.
How many of the 500,000 people that are not supposed to be in Canada have been removed? Just the number.
Minister.
So thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Again, people whose visas expires or who are here that should not be here need to leave. If they do not, that is a CBSA.
Remember.
But here's the thing. The minister cannot set levels if she doesn't know how many people have left. So it is her job. So I need to know how many people of that 500,000 has left. How about this? Does she even know? Does she have any clue?
Minister.
So, again, Mr. Chair, my role here tonight is not to talk about people leaving and people that are here that have visas expired and so on. In terms of how many have left, that is completely a CBSA function, and the public safety takes care of it.
The Honourable Member.
Canadians literally pay her $100,000 top-up and give her a car to know these numbers. How many of the 500,000 people that were supposed to leave in December actually left? This is pretty simple. Like, how many? Does she know?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I've answered that question a number of times.
Oh, really?
I will try.
I'm going to stop it right there. Listen, that is our immigration minister. She's getting paid $300,000 a year and has no clue what she's doing.
Honestly, she should say, Mr. Speaker, here's my resignation.
That's what it should be, Anna. And
Oh, my gosh. Listen, I'm an immigrant, but things need to be done right and properly. And I need somebody who's going to be the face for us, and she does not sound or present strong.
Here's something that I've been really wrestling with, and we'll get to the trivial, more fun news in just a second.
This is important.
And there is a question about Silent Date Guy as well that we'll get to.
Yeah.
Before I get to that, though, this woman here, this immigration minister, she was not one of Justin Trudeau's cabinet picks. She was one picked by Mark Carney. And the problem here is that you've got Mark Carney, who comes out and seems very prime ministerial. He seems like he's doing a very good job. I have not gotten many criticisms from Mark Carney because so far he's doing the job that I want him to do. But I think because he's the face of the government, people fixate on him and think, okay, everything's under control. We finally got an adult in the room. Justin Trudeau screwed everything up, but he's gone. Carney's here. Everything is fine. But then when you hear the people behind Carney, you realize he can't run every ministry, and the people he's appointed to run these ministries are grossly incompetent. And it's almost contempt, the fact that she will not answer this question. You know what the answer is? She has no idea.
Say it. 500,000
people that were supposed to have left by December are still here. That should mean 500 less people get to come here. To blame it on the CBSA is completely inappropriate. Immigration brought them here. Immigration should know where they are, at least. As far as getting rid of them, if they're not going to leave on their own, we got to deport them. We got to catch them and deport them. That's a CBSA function, but this minister needs to know about it as the immigration minister. And frankly, I don't understand what she doesn't understand about her job. It seems like she has no idea what her portfolio is.
I have to agree with you. Listening to that was very painful. And I don't know if wrestling of the papers were trying to make her sound smarter or that she had the information at hand. It didn't. It just looked terrible. You failed miserably in that presentation and just proved the point without even having to say anything.
But Carney could actually continue this goodwill that he's earning with the Canadian people. By and large, people don't have a problem with what Carney is doing. It's all of the people underneath him that are complete losers, like actual losers. And I can't think of another way to say it. I mean, how can you be that bad at your job and still be employed? If Mark Carney really wants to show that it's a new era in Canada, it's a new day in Canada, we're not doing things the Trudeau way, we're doing things the Carney way, he should walk into the House of Commons today and fire her.
I have to be honest with you. I agree with what you said in terms of when you think Carney, okay, it's not the friend who's taking charge. It's a political figure who I thought, okay, has stature, he knows what he's doing. And so to me, I figured those would follow suit like you, that the people beneath him who are getting paid lots of money know what they're doing when it comes to the jobs. Was nobody vetted? Like, I just don't understand. Like, how did she get to that point? I mean, I could do it. And I'm not even informed in that way. It's
not even a complicated file, Anna. It's really not that big a deal.
It blows my mind. It again, we need to trust the government. We need to trust the government, well, but we can't if things are getting put out like that, and then they wonder why people are so over the top and confused and angry and trying to figure out their own way of dealing with situations.
But that's part of the reason that I love this podcast is because you don't get that on the CBC, you don't get that on CTV, you don't get that on Global, you don't get that on City, you get that in places like podcasts. And that's why so many people have gravitated to the podcast world, because they know the mainstream media is not telling them the whole truth. Every Canadian should be interested to hear that. Mm-hmm. They're not highlighting it on the news. They'd rather take shots at Pierre Poilievre, who's not even in the House of Commons, because they're so biased. But I'm going to move on from that.
Okay, good. Okay, because I was getting all riled up.
I have the Auditor General's report coming up. I have reaction from the opposition Conservatives. I'm going to talk about how many people don't think they're going to be able to afford to live in the GTHA anymore.
My gosh.
It's really, really bad, Anna. All of that is coming up.
And I got to say thank you for, producing a podcast like this so people can get a different take on real life issues. I think some people are scared to speak out or even to lend an ear and listen, and you give them a platform to do so. And I think that's great. Everybody should have the opportunity to get the full story.
Before we move on, little interesting development yesterday in the broadcast world. My former employer, Chorus Entertainment, blew out a whole bunch more people again yesterday.
I know, it's so sad.
There's an entire network of stations in the Ottawa area that now have no DJs. They just fired everybody.
I just don't know how they think that they can compete with other radio stations at the level that they want to be. And there's just no remorse. There's no remorse. People give time and, their blood, sweat, and tears, and miss out on holidays with families, this and that, to show up for a job that they love, to just get walked out like they meant nothing.
Yeah. And you know what? I really feel like that company in particular, you're nothing but a number. They don't care about you. In fact, I'm willing to bet, I don't know for sure, but I'm willing to bet somebody probably got a bonus for blowing out all those people yesterday and getting their cuts.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so angry. I could see it though, and not just with them, but a lot of different companies who do this. It's their way of saving money and making the rich richer. It blows my mind. It hurts my heart because we got in it for the love of it and not for the money.
There is not a lot of money in broadcast.
Let me tell you that there ain't. But that's why we do it, because we love it, not because of the money. And those suits, they care about the money and not the love of it.
On this topic, earlier today, we had this on our radio show. 46% of people in a new poll say their boss or manager rarely or only somewhat understands what they do.
It's true.
Almost 50% of employees don't think their boss could do their job or even understands their job.
Do you not understand? Before I took this job and I worked in TV, the amount of times I could show you from my email that I sent what my job description was over and over. They didn't even know what time I started in the morning. They didn't know what time I came in.
Crazy, right?
But they could track me like, when are you leaving? They wanted to know why I was leaving at a certain time. They didn't care when I started. But why wasn't I around?
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, when you were on television, was the person who was your boss, the person who had to guide you and help you grow as a broadcaster, was the person who did that someone who was a very experienced television person themselves, and they'd done it and they could pass on the skills and knowledge that they had accumulated onto you?
No, they were a suit and they sat behind a desk. They had never done what we did and yet could try to give me advice or tell me what I've done wrong. They've never done it. And so then when they would be interviewed for, let's say, a program piece, they were stiff. They weren't themselves. They weren't this, they weren't that. But that's okay for them.
Imagine a contractor who has no idea how to use tools.
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
It's truly the same thing. How dare you try to give me criticism when you have no idea what it's like to show up and be on and still make it look like it's a normal, natural thing. Well,
to the people who lost their job yesterday at Chorus, I feel for you. I'm not surprised at all. I'm worried about the people that are still there. But, hey, this is the way the industry is. I mean, it seems like the radio companies, the big ones, have just decided that radio doesn't matter anymore. I still very much believe in radio. I thought I was out of it, and I got this opportunity at Light 92 here with Anna, which is great. And I'm feeling real good about the direction our station is going in. But there's so many of them that are corporately owned. And these corporate companies are just sinking an entire industry. And it seems like nobody in Ottawa cares.
Yeah.
I don't know why at this point they haven't stepped up and said, we're going to have to put in some common sense rules. And before you guys completely gut an industry that we're going to need, we're going to make sure that you don't do that. And if you are going to do that, we're at least going to make sure you treat your employees properly on the way out the door, because most of them don't.
No, it's true. I know. I texted Scott. I was like, thank you, baby Jesus, that this company took me on and we're co-hosts and I love you so much. I was like just clinging on because I'm an oversharer. So, but yeah, I love this job. I love the radio. I love this platform. So I feel for those who've lost it.
Okay, let's get to it. A warmer than usual summer is being forecast for Canada with uncertain precipitation levels, leaving some areas ripe for severe wildfires. Not regular wildfires, Anna. Severe wildfires.
There's a huge difference, I guess.
Now, keep in mind, this comes from the propaganda machine. This is from Environment and Climate Change Canada. They say Atlantic Canada, Quebec, Ontario, and northern Manitoba are especially likely to experience a hot summer. Environment Canada's Bill Merrifield says a lack of rain means all Western Canada will be at risk for severe wildfires, with conditions only expected to worsen in August. Yeah, the month where it's hot and dry. Hey, we just went through the coldest, wettest winter and spring in modern memory. And these guys are already doing the whole, it's going to be a scorcher of a summer. There's going to be forest fires. There's nothing you can do. Pack your bags and get out of the north and out of the west.
And that's the thing. If you know that this is going to happen, be prepared. Have, the water bombers, have everything. Like, everything should be set out. Keep it. I know, obviously, the forestry, it's large. It's hard to control all of it. But do your part. If you know it's coming, get it watered. Get it moist. I don't know. Do what you need to do. And to know that Atlantic Canada, having lived there for 15 years, is going to be the hottest on record. We hear that every year, and it never truly turns out to be what they say it's going to be honest with you.
I read these stories with a lot of skepticism because I know exactly what they're doing. This is trying to fuel the climate change argument. And frankly, I don't understand how it being 33 degrees as opposed to 30 degrees lights a forest on fire. It doesn't make any sense to me. I also don't see any difference or divergence between what they're predicting for this year and previous summers.
Yeah, it seems like it's hot. It's summer. That's what you expect. That's what we look forward to, a hot summer. Even as a kid, I remember it being scorchers and it extending longer than it was.
I would really like for this government or the next government to put it back the way it was. Because when they took Environment Canada, whose job was to predict the weather, and combined it with Climate Change Canada, or gave them a climate change mandate, that's a pretty strong mandate to promote climate change. And frankly, I don't want the weather people doing that. The weather people are not climatologists. They're meteorologists. They should give you the day-to-day what's going on. A forecast in June for the rest of the summer, although it's nice, I don't know that it's accurate. I mean, they can't get this weekend right.
Well, yeah, you're right. And you know what? Having done the weather, I was a weather presenter, not a specialist, not a meteorologist. Even I, too, never looked more than 3 days ahead. Because within the next 48 hours, things change. Even within a day, they say it's going to be one thing, and then patterns change. It happens.
The Competition Bureau is looking for public input on the issue of algorithmic pricing. The Bureau says more than 60 companies in Canada already use automated systems to help set their prices, often in real time, for everything from concert tickets, ride shares, hotel rooms, and more. They state algorithmic pricing could become an issue under the Competition Act if multiple companies rely on the same model to set their prices. This would create a form of collusion on pricing, even without explicit collaboration. What they're saying here is that if everybody uses AI and creates surge pricing, then they should all end up with the same pricing, and that's collusion. As opposed to just looking at your business and saying, well, here's how much I need to make in a month. Mm-hmm. Here's how much we're making now. Here's what I need to do as far as adjusting prices are concerned to make me a healthy profit. That's not what they're doing, especially when they use AI. Algorithmic pricing is particularly frustrating because if I take an Uber at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it'll cost me a certain amount. But if I want to take an Uber at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the exact same trip, it's more. And that doesn't make sense.
I've experienced that firsthand. It's like, oh, it's going to cost you $75 because right now it's prime time. I'm like, you are ripping me off. Like, how do you even feel comfortable? It's like flights. You book it, you think you're about to book it, and then all of a sudden you refresh it and it's double the price. I barely did anything. I didn't even do anything. How did that even happen?
Airline tickets in particular, that's one that they got to look into. Anyway, the Competition Bureau is doing that 2 days in a row with a story out of them. Yesterday, DoorDash, and today they're going after algorithmic pricing. Well, I hope they make some progress. I mean, we have a vested interest in this as the people because they're trying to make sure that prices are competitive. And we also have a major inflation problem. Yeah. How many of these companies are exploiting surge pricing just to make more money? It doesn't actually make a difference to their business or their operation. It's just an opportunity to gouge people. Good luck to the Competition Bureau. I hope they have some success with this. The 1-year countdown to the 2026 World Cup starts today, Anna. Clocks are being unveiled to mark the occasion in Vancouver, Toronto, and Niagara Falls. Toronto and Vancouver are World Cup host cities and spending a ton of money to host part of this tournament. They say there are more milestones to come here in Canada with a call for some 7,000 volunteers to be issued in August. Ticket sales start in September for the tournament. The draw is in December. The World Cup trophy is going to be in Ottawa on Canada Day. Okay, great. Here's my question, though. We know that the cost of hosting is outrageous. For 6 games in Toronto, they say $380 million. And that's to play them at a stadium that's already built.
That's the base price.
BMO Field is already there. They're going to put in some bigger grandstands at the end. They're portable. They'll come out at the end. Does that cost $380 million? No, it doesn't. Now we find out they want 7,000 people to work it for free.
And they will.
So where's the $500 million going? I say 500 because I know the 380 is way, way, way low. When we get through this and we look back on how much it actually cost, it'll be over $500 million for 6 soccer games. And that's not even paying people. They want 7,000 people to work for free.
Yeah.
How can they look in the mirror? Because you know those executives that are running the World Cup tournament are all making a huge amount of money for a fairly minimal amount of work. It has to be minimal when 7,000 people are doing the tough work for free.
And again, I stress people will, because they want to be a part of history and, take part in the games in some capacity without having to pay. But yeah, how are they spending that much money? Well, remember taking care of the subways, cleaning everything, making everything spick and span. They're going to add two stadiums. We're going to see this or that, clothing. But then they'll angle it like, this is going to be so great for tourism. We're going to actually rebound. We're going to do well because a lot of people are going to be traveling to our neck of the woods to spend money. And that's what we're going to hear, right?
That's the BS they've been doing since they bid on it.
Yep.
Hey, listen, it's 6 games. That's it. 6 games. We have soccer games at BMO Field 3 times a week.
Yeah.
6 of those, the stadium will be full. If you don't have a ticket, I don't know why you would come here. Go to one of the games in Mexico or in the States. Why would you do that? Why would you come here if you don't have a ticket? So we're really only looking at 6 games by 45,000 people? That's not a lot.
Not compared to the stadium sizes that you see in other parts of the world that host, FIFA World Cups and such. It's a lot more people in stands and it's a lot more money spent. I'm curious to know how much tickets will cost. It's like all these little things that are small that will add up and it will be costly. But yeah, I'm with you on the base price. It's going to be starting off at $300, but it's going to round up to a lot more money than we think.
Anna, a couple things I want to play for you now and get your take on. Father's Day is coming up on Sunday.
Yeah.
One of the questions that got asked on social media was, what do you think of the dad bod? Listen to this.
I feel like a dad bod's authentic. It honestly depends on the guy. Like, if I like him, then sure, I guess. Definitely yes, if they have a good personality. Yes. Personality is very important.
Honestly, they're all going to end up with dad bods one day. So, I'm okay with the dad bod. I don't want to be comparing myself to you and always be like, oh, you have 2% body fat.
Yeah. I like a guy with a dad bod. Yeah, hands down. I think the dad bod's very attractive in my opinion.
I don't have the best body, so I wouldn't want to be with someone that has an insanely good body because it's just I would feel insecure.
Definitely strong, well fed, not too cut up and big, but I want them to be stronger than me.
Yeah,
okay, Anna.
Yeah.
First off.
Okay.
I heard a number of women in that segment allude to they don't want to be with a guy that's got a better body than they do. In other words, they would like to be the skinny or the fit one in the relationship. And if that means they have a guy with a dad bod, that's great because they, in comparison, look better. Is that a thing amongst women?
Hell
I don't
yeah.
want a guy that's in better shape than me?
Hell yeah, because I don't want to go to the gym all the time if he's going 2 a days eating salads and I really just want to sit on the couch eating a bag of chips, man. But it's about the personality too.
No. We're talking about a dad bod. Let's stick with the topic.
I got to tell you, I've dated more dad bods than I have dated 6-packs. And to me, that's usually what I'm more attracted to. And I just want somebody who's strong and fit in that way. If I'm running at you, I want you to be able to pick me up, carry me around if I need you to, hold me up. But I don't want to run at you and then you crumble and fall. Don't you shake your head at me. It's the truth.
I don't get what you're talking about.
Because they're
I don't
strong
get it.
and fit. They don't need to have a 6-pack in order to be strong. They can have a dad bod and still hold their own. I just don't want it. I don't want them to be so fit and trim that potentially we could share pant sizes. Because I'm not in the best shape of my life. That's probably behind me, and that's okay. And I want them to experience that too. Let's just eat together, have fun together. Let's not care so much about what we look like. Dad bods for the win.
Okay. All right. I don't know if guys are any closer to figuring out what women want here. I mean, if you're too flabby, you get the whole, maybe you should start working out. If you're too fit, well, now you're better looking than I am. So I really don't know how guys win here.
Just be you. Just be you. Be confident, and then that will get the girl.
Okay.
Look at Leonardo DiCaprio, just for example. Dad bod. He gets at all the models.
Yeah, but he's also Leonardo DiCaprio.
I was hoping you really weren't going to touch on that part. But.
I want to play something else for you.
Okay.
This is going to be what I would call a hot take, one that I don't think many people are going to agree with, but I'm sure there are some. I have a dog.
Yeah.
His name is Charlie, and Charlie is a Bernie Doodle. His mom was a Bernese Mountain Dog, and his dad was a poodle. There's a lot of different doodle combos. I think the Bernie Doodle is the greatest breed out there. I have never had a dog that smart and that I have that much of a connection with. Golden Doodles are very similar. Golden Doodles, Bernie Doodles, any doodle cross seems to have the same reputation. They're easy to train. They're very smart. People love them. Except for this woman here. This is a rant that is going viral on TikTok from a woman who does not like Golden Doodles. Oh. Listen to this.
Whoever came up with Golden Doodles should serve immediate prison time. They are sick and disgusting. Stop looking at me with your beady human eyes. That's disgusting. I've never looked at a Golden Doodle and thought, oh my God, you're scary. Get that thing out of here. Why would you go and purposely pay money for something that I know can speak English? It talks. Whoever came up with Golden Doodles, why would you do that? You should be put in a straitjacket even. If you have a Golden Doodle and you're like, mine's nice, I don't care. You're going to wake up one day and it's going to be above you waiting. I don't like it. I know that it can walk on two legs. Them things are nasty and scary and evil.
What? Nasty, scary, and evil.
What happened in her life that has led her down this horrible path? Like, are you kidding me? Has she hurt herself? This is ridiculous.
Okay, but I do, I vehemently disagree with everything she said. I think, well, actually, I disagree with most of what she said. They're incredibly intelligent.
Yes.
And they do have, this is something that takes some getting used to. They have human eyes. If you look into their eyes, it's like looking into the eyes of a human. You can almost communicate with your dog. I know that my dog understands me when I speak. And not every word, but enough to get it. Mm-hmm. He knows enough English that he fully understands what I want him to do. And even if he doesn't understand the words, he can almost read my mind. He knows when I'm angry. He knows when I'm stressed. He knows when I'm agitated. These dogs are absolutely incredible, but this woman thinks they're so incredible, they're dangerous.
I know, but that's just so far-fetched. Oh, they're going to be, hanging over you? Yeah, probably. They want you to wake up so you can go and play with them. Feed them. Not trying to kill them, kill you. I mean, get out of here. I hope she never gets a dog.
I would hope not.
Or a pet of any sort, because she's just not stable enough to take care of it, I think, in my opinion, listening to that.
Just a couple more stories here for you, Anna. A Kentucky man, his name is Jonathan Mason, recently arrested for releasing a raccoon inside a business. The raccoon bit a person. Mason left the scene, but was later stopped and arrested by police. He was charged with assault. He was arrested in December for being drunk and riding a mule away from the scene of another crime. I don't know where he got the mule. I don't know where he got the raccoon to release it into a business. But it brings up an interesting question. Gosh. Are raccoons the next weapon of mass destruction?
I mean, yeah, because they look so cute. I would walk and be like, oh, hello. Why are you in my office? And then they attack me. They're very, they go under the radar. So I could see, to your point, they may be the next weapon of mass destruction.
Well, listen, we hear a lot about drones, right? Yeah. Drones are the next big thing in warfare. What if the simple solution is we just release a bunch of raccoons in the buildings and watch everybody freak out? Because if that's the case, Canada is a superpower. We've got them everywhere. Everywhere.
That's right. Oh my gosh, you would have thought. And the person getting bit didn't even see the raccoon coming. That's it. Because they just come out of nowhere too, those little raccoons.
So wait a second. If I release a raccoon into a business and the raccoon bites somebody, did I assault somebody or did the raccoon assault somebody? How did this guy get charged?
Well, because he's the one who let it into the building. They would not have been bit if the raccoon that he had and let go didn't enter the building. So yeah, technically they are right to ticket that guy. It makes sense. And I hope the raccoon's okay.
Okay. One more.
Okay.
Before I get to the Auditor General's report and a couple of things from the situation happening in America. There's a town in Pennsylvania. It's called Millersburg. I had to look it up. It is just north of Hershey, about halfway between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. This town is dealing with the same thing that so many other towns in North America are potholes.
Oh.
It's frustrating, right? Mm-hmm. And it happens every year because we don't build roads the way we used to. So when these potholes happen, sometimes they get fixed, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go years without being repaired because they're a low priority or they're on a low traffic street. But that doesn't help you when you happen to be on that street and roll through these potholes.
Oh, it's the worst bump ever.
So this town in Pennsylvania has launched a new program. They want to try and encourage people to phone in or report online where there are potholes so they can get the crews out to fix it. I think if you're in city government, that's a great thing to do.
Absolutely. I want to get the problem resolved. That's awesome. Good on them.
Marketing, as you understand, is a big component here when you're trying to promote something new, especially for the seniors who aren't used to this new system of phoning in where the potholes are. Mm-hmm. So they came up with a marketing campaign. And out of all the names they could have chosen, Anna, all of the different possibilities for a program that fixes potholes, they opted to go with Fill My Hole.
It's catchy. You don't forget it. It's a conversation piece.
They note in the press release, all holes, no waiting. Although some holes may require a little more TLC, but rest assured, you'll be provided with a reason if we're unable to fill your hole ourselves.
Well, as long as they let me know why the hole on the street didn't get filled properly. I mean, we want to know.
This is right from the press release. Pleased with the way our crew handled your hole? We want to hear about it. Use the contact us on our website for all questions and compliments. Ooh. Have you ever sent a compliment after one of your holes got filled?
Absolutely.
Good for you. You should. And they're looking for them.
Yeah, and I think it's important to recognize when good work is done.
Well, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. On Facebook, there were some questions when they announced this campaign, and to be expected. Of course, a new program from the city, people are going to have questions.
Of course.
First question was, if we want to fill our own hole, is that okay? Or does it need to be filled by a professional hole filler?
I would rather the professional come and fill the hole, for me, to be honest, because I know then it will get done right and it will last a lot longer.
And that's exactly what the city said. Best to leave the hole filling to the professionals. Someone else asked, can they fill deep holes?
Ooh,
what if it's a big hole, Anna?
Sometimes you can't control things.
And do they clean dirty holes before they fill those? These are good questions before you reach out. The city responded, holes are cleaned first, although debris may prevent adhesion of the filling. Deep holes, however, no problem.
No problem.
They've got lots and lots of whatever they need to fill that hole.
Man, those streets are never going to look better than that right there.
We did that on our radio show today. And I thought for sure one of the older folks that listens to the show was going to call in and complain about this. But fortunately, everybody understood.
Yeah.
This is not us. We're not being cute. This is an actual program in an actual city in America. And they actually thought calling it Fill My Hole was the best way to go.
Yeah. And they were like, hey, man, I don't care what it's called. As long as those holes get filled on my street, I'm good to go. So, yeah. And, hey. Speaking of holes being filled, how about Silent Date Guy?
You want to know what's going on with Silent Date Guy?
Not why that triggered the memory, but since I have you here.
Oh, I think I know why. So, Silent Date Guy. A number of people have reached out, and I did want to give the story just a little bit of rest because it was a lot. It was 2 long stories in 2 weeks, and I wanted to just give people a break because they didn't get together last weekend. He had to work.
So there was rest.
There was a little bit of rest. Rest is working, I guess. However, they are going out this weekend.
Oh.
All I'll tell you for now is that it is another overnight trip.
Okay. Wow. They just go right for it.
You know what, though? I mean, if...
At this point, it makes sense.
Yeah. I think it does. They've done 2 overnights so far. Why not make it a 3rd? But this will be 3 in 4 weeks.
Wow. Okay, so I need to know, where are they going, and are they actually going to have dinner before? Like, does that even matter? Do they need to exchange the pleasantries at this point? And since they kind of both know what's going on, does he need to bring a gift for her? Because last time she gave him that watch. Oh, does he bring a costume just to switch things up and spice things up?
Is he going to wear a costume?
Well,
That's
should
interesting.
He surprise her? Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, girl, you sit back. I'm going to be a second. And then he comes out in a costume and be like, you've been a bad girl.
Is there sexy costumes for men?
Not in my time of watching any man come out in a costume. Has it ever done anything for me but makes me laugh? So maybe she's into humor.
Okay.
That could be a nice little thing, a conversation. Maybe that way she doesn't feel so... I don't know. I can't speak to her, but maybe she's the costume wearer of the 2. Maybe that's her niche.
So far, that has been her thing. Okay, well, listen. As I get more information, I will tell you. Probably on the Friday episode, before we get to listener DMs, I'll tell you where they're going.
Yay, because you don't know now, right?
I have an idea.
But you can't confirm because it's like the Niagara on the Lake. You said Niagara Falls and it was Niagara on the Lake and you don't like having this information.
All my journalistic integrity was out the window after that,
Anna. I completely get it. You want to get things straight and know what you're telling me. I get it. I appreciate that, okay?
All right. Thanks for joining me on the pod.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Coming up in, you know what? Let's do it right now. Yesterday, the Auditor General released a report. This was on a couple of different things that we need to know about, including the procurement of fighter planes. Listen to this.
Our next audit examined National Defence's project to replace Canada's aging CF-18 fighter jets with advanced CF-35As. We found that estimated costs of the Future Fighter Capability Project have significantly increased, and that the project faces several risks that could jeopardize the timely introduction of the new fleet. National Defense originally estimated that the project would cost $19 billion. The audit found that this figure was based on outdated information, and that by 2024, the projected costs had increased to $27.7 billion.
Wow.
Almost 50% more than the original estimate. This figure did not include other essential elements needed for full operational capability, such as certain infrastructure upgrades and advanced weapons, which would add at least $5.5 billion to the total estimated cost. L'audit a également révélé qu'il y avait d'autres risques.
Okay, that's the top line data from the Auditor General yesterday talking about the purchase of F-35 fighter jets. A quick history lesson. You'll recall that way back when Stephen Harper was Prime Minister, he put in an order for these jets at a fairly reasonable price, certainly less than the now $32 billion that this is going to cost us, at least. When Justin Trudeau ran for Prime Minister, he ran on a pledge to get rid of that purchase. We don't need those F-35 jets. Cancel it. So we paid a fee to get out of the purchase agreement that Stephen Harper entered into. Well, fast forward a couple of years, Justin Trudeau realized, actually, we do need the F-35s. So he had to buy them again. But the price had gone up. And now since we've agreed to buy them again, the price has gone up even more. I don't understand how that works personally. You know, I think that if we go to the person or the company that makes the F-35 and say, we need 60 of them, quick, they give us a price, we write them a check, we get our planes, that's it. For some reason, this price seems to fluctuate, and I don't understand exactly why. I have to assume, though, that there are a lot more costs than we've been led to believe. And the Auditor General here is saying it's going to cost us 50% more than we thought it was going to cost. All of this way more than it would have cost us if we had just left the original purchase that Stephen Harper made in place. So where do we go from here? Well, the jets are going to cost us a lot more money than we thought. We don't have the infrastructure, including a basic thing like enough trained pilots to fly them. If you're interested in being a naval pilot here in Canada, they're hiring, just so you know, and you might get to go right into an F-35. That'd be pretty darn cool. We don't have infrastructure. That's the hangars that they need to be parked in, runway upgrades that need to be done. We don't have the weapons that go on these planes. That's going to cost an extra $5 billion. Now the cost is so high that it's not a matter of it's expensive, but we got to spend it because we need to have that capability. To maybe we just say, forget it. We're not going to defend ourselves. We're not going to contribute. We don't have an extra $32 billion to spend on these fighter jets. We just don't have the money for it. I don't know where this is going, but it seems like somebody in Ottawa was asleep at the switch. How did this price balloon that far out of control without it being flagged and without serious questions being asked? That's one of the questions that the Auditor General wants answered. Let's go on to another one. This is about the ArriveCan app. Listen to what the Auditor General had to say about this.
Our final audit report examined government contracts awarded to GC Strategies Incorporated, an Ottawa-based information technology staffing company. From April 2015 to March 2024, 31 federal organizations issued 106 contracts to GC Strategies. In this audit, we found that federal organizations frequently disregarded government procurement rules that promote fairness, transparency, and value for Canadians. The findings in this audit echo those of previous audits, where we found deficiencies in how public servants applied federal procurement rules. There are no recommendations in this report because I believe the government does not need more procurement rules. Rather, federal organizations need to make sure that the rules that exist are understood and followed. Thank you. We appreciate your time and attention.
Thank you to the Auditor General, doing great work there, exposing some of these things that we need exposed. As a taxpayer, I'm livid. GC Strategies, this company that was just founded after Justin Trudeau was elected, it's only a 2-person operation. They seem to outsource every contract they get. It should have cost $80,000 to develop the ArriveCan app. $80,000. GC Strategies has been paid $100 million. Think about that. That's your tax dollars gone. What could Canada have done with an extra $100 million? It's infuriating. These public servants that are handling this procurement and the ministers that are in charge of them have no respect for our money. None. They're just pissing it away. And the people are starving. They're going to lose their house. And this is the sort of nonsense that they're doing in Ottawa. It's really, really gross. What does the opposition have to say about this? Yesterday, Pierre Poilievre stood at the door to the House of Commons, and he gave the Conservative reaction to it. Listen to this.
Today's Auditor General's reports, I should say, are a chronicle of Liberal incompetence and an orgy of Liberal waste. We have here GC Strategies, the company the Liberals gave over 100 separate contracts from 31 different departments, which is under RCMP investigation. The contracts were for IT, even though GC Strategies does not actually do IT work. We all remember this is the same contractor that did the unnecessary and useless COVID app that was way over budget and could have been completed for a fraction of the cost. We now know that in other contracts, the government overpaid. They often didn't even check what the market rate was for the services that they were buying. Quote, actions of the federal government frequently did not demonstrate value for money. Federal government made payments without evidence that all the deliverables were received. Translation, they paid even when they didn't see that the job was done. So 46% of the contracts examined, there was no evidence that the work was completed, and yet the government paid for it. It'd be like if you walked into a restaurant, you were never served a meal, but you paid the bill anyway and added a big tip and sent off the bill to the taxpayer. That's what Liberals have done with your money in this case. So now, who's responsible? Well, Public Safety Minister LeBlanc was at the time, Public Safety Minister who helped get these contracts out. Now he's been promoted in the Liberal government. You've got Patty Hajdu, who was the health minister that kicked off the ArriveCan app. She as well has been promoted. And then you've got F-35s. Liberal mismanagement of the process has now driven up costs by 50% or $9 billion. The infrastructure delays are going to mean we need 2 fighter squadrons slated for completion in 2031, more than 3 years late, forcing extra spending on interim facilities. They haven't recruited enough pilots to fill the gap. They've got weak project management, risk management, and coordination plans remain incomplete and slow. And the bottom line is that rising costs, construction delays, staffing gaps, weak oversight threaten the ongoing introduction of the fighter jets. And who is responsible for that? Well, Anita Anand was one of the defense ministers who helped bring about this boondoggle. She has been promoted in this government. So in all of these cases, you have promotions for those who caused the problem. Now, finally, you've got federal land for housing. In the middle of the worst housing crisis in the world, the government has failed to live up to its promise to sell off federal land and buildings for housing. They said in 2017, half of their buildings and land were underused or vacant, and yet only 2% of it has been disposed of for homes. They've built only 309 homes, 90% short of the 4,000 they promised. It takes them 8 years to sell a property. 8 years. You've got $3.9 billion we could be bringing in over the next decade if we sold off these buildings and avoided having the operational costs of them. And the fact that they've missed these targets means that there are countless young people who can't afford homes, single mothers who pay higher rent, seniors choosing between eating and heating because the cost of housing is out of control. Again, the housing minister who caused this disaster has now been promoted to Liberal Minister of Justice. So it is the same Liberal ministers, the same Liberal gang, making the same Liberal mistakes that cost Canadians a fortune. And
that is Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Again, I love that I can play longer clips here because I know that when that speech was airing live yesterday, CBC cut away. They went to the House of Commons. They didn't want to hear what Pierre Poilievre had to say, critiquing the work of the Liberal government after the Auditor General called the government out. What are we going to do here? Pierre's right. The ministers that were in charge that allowed all of these things to happen did get promotions. And that's hard to reconcile for a lot of people because, again, like I said earlier, you see Mark Carney up there who seems to be looking the role, saying the right things, seems to be doing most of the right things, give or take on a few different issues. But for the most part, I think people are fairly comfortable already with Prime Minister Carney. But he has surrounded himself with these Trudeau-era cabinet ministers, and frankly, it's embarrassing. As a taxpayer, I find this outrageous that our money is being mismanaged that badly, and they don't seem to care. There's one more thing I want to point out here. This is an exchange that happened in the House of Commons just the other day. Pierre Poilievre at the end was referencing one other part of the Auditor General's report, the part on housing and how much unused government land has been sold off for housing. The answer is not much. Well, Chrystia Freeland was asked about this the other day, and here's what Chrystia Freeland had to say about the housing landscape in Canada.
Mr. Speaker, one of the policies the Prime Minister campaigned on was building modular housing. That is a way to get more homes built faster, and we know that by removing barriers to internal trade in our country, we can get a modular housing industry going in our country. Exactly. That is one of the solutions to the housing crisis. I hope the members opposite will be constructive and support this important legislation.
Mr. Speaker, my generation refuses to live in a shipping container.
And that's what it comes down to. I mean, they want you in a shipping container. It's modular housing. They're going to build very, very, very small homes, no basements. They're just going to set it on the land, and they're going to sell it to you for whatever they sell it to you for. If they sell it at all, you may never actually own that. This modular housing thing, I like that the government is trying here, but I really don't know that this is the solution or that that's the kind of home that's going to get people into the housing market. In fact, a brand new report just dropped today. Listen to the headline. More than half of residents of the GTHA, that's the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, say they are not confident they'll be able to live a comfortable life in this region in the long term. This, according to the Toronto Region Board of Trade. The survey, conducted by Ipsos, polled 1,000 GTHA residents between May 9th and May 22nd. It found only 40% are optimistic about their ability to live comfortably in the GTHA long term. Even fewer, 24%, said they felt confident that future generations will be able to afford to live and work in the Toronto region. While residents still believe Toronto's economic promise is there, that optimism is fleeting. Half of those surveyed said they're not confident about the region's economic outlook over the next year, let alone the long term. Most respondents rated their current financial status as excellent, good, or fair. About 72%, though, said they're concerned about their finances in the short term over the next 2 years. Only 34% of respondents say they are confident they will have good employment opportunities to earn more in the long run. We see what all this is coming to, right? We know what's going on here. We've got banks forecasting that we're heading into a recession. We've got a lot of people that can't afford their mortgage. We've got a lot of people losing their job. I'm really worried that a perfect storm is coming, and as it brews, I will have it covered right here on Scott Fox After 9. Friends, I want to thank you for listening to this episode. I appreciate it. This is a daily check-in, get up to date on everything that's going on, and then go back to your radio listening or music listening or what have you. But I hope you can check into the pod regularly. Friday, listener DMs, you can get on those by shooting me a message at Scott Fox On Air. Have yourselves a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.